welcome to our Beyond Borders Breakfast Debate. It's the 24th Borders Breakfast Debate, and we're very delighted to have you here with this most interesting subject for our debate this morning of cross-border regions and tourism, improving joint destination management. It's been fascinating, so many of the discussions that we've had about cross-border cooperation and how it can literally be an illustration of the benefits of European integration. But it also raises issues of regulatory harmonisation, of connectivity, of how to manage sustainability, of how to manage employment across borders and the tax and related systems. And interestingly, I think tourism and the management of tourism not only illustrates and is something of a paradigm of how those issues are to be managed, but also very effectively illustrates the opportunities. These cross-border tourism initiatives are capable of bringing significant revenues and employment and opportunities to cross-border regions, which sometimes are amongst the less economically advantaged parts of the European Union, but it can create great opportunities. So we're really looking forward to the discussion about how to secure that improved joint destination management. We're looking forward to your participation. We're going to have two polls that we will ask you your views, the participants, to our discussion this morning. And also, do please be aware, and I know I can see a number of you are expressing your greetings in the chat. Do please use the chat for the questions and the comments and the references. And as we go through the discussion, I will try to ensure that the questions are picked up from the chat in order to inform the discussion with your excellent panelists. We have a great lineup today. I'll introduce them when the time comes, but I do want to initiate our discussion this morning by asking Valeria Cenacchi from DG REGIO to give an overview of the issues that we are discussing today. Please, Valeria.
Thank you, Andrew. Indeed, you're right. Tourism is really an interesting topic in Interreg, because since the creation, the support to tourism has always been a priority for territorial cooperation program, notably in cross-border context, because promoting cultural exchanges and cooperation in tourism is beneficial in many different ways. You mentioned some. Tourism and culture, which are often associated, can play really a role in regional development, notably in these peripheral or rural areas that are far from economic centers and from touristic attractions. So by promoting local heritage and environment, region can attract visitors, create jobs, stimulate some economic growth. But also cooperation for tourism helps the promotion of, let's say, a European identity based on the territorial diversity of each region and city, and based on also what the territories share, like common landscape, like cultural heritage, as I said, history, languages, art, traditions. So there are many things that are in common there in many territories. So these reinforce some kind of pride and sense of belonging to a territory and then also to Europe. So cooperation projects aim to build a value for cross-border areas and to develop their attractivity for tourists in many, many ways. They do it by restoring monuments, and buildings, by diversifying offer and destination, by improving the accessibility and the sustainable transport, by creating events, thematic events, and routes, for example, by digitalizing services, and by supporting local production and businesses. So the list of the type of action and project is long. In some very simple figures, in a rough research in our database, result in about 7.7 thousand cooperation projects supporting tourism and culture since just 2014. And so a countless number of partners that are involved in those projects. Under the 21-27 period, Interreg invests 1.2 billion ERDF just on the specific objective for tourism and culture, which is the specific objective 4.6. So let's say the overall picture is nice, is full of flagship projects and good examples that we can mention. However, if not, it would be too good. However, the experience that now it's a long experience that we have in this type of investment shows there are also some recurrent deficiency in what we have financed. We see a lot of mirroring and isolated projects with little or no real capitalization over the years. In some cases, more than 30 years of experience. So sometimes the project ends when the financing is ending. So this is generally due to the absence of, let's say, a wide and long-term tourism strategy behind for the cross-border area. Investments are not always based on a common vision, on the analysis of common opportunities and complementarities, on the consultation with the sectoral, let's say, stakeholders. And often, let's say, the perspective of tourists, residents, and workers are not taken on board to design more integrated and sustainable approaches together. As well, program authority also sometimes lack guidance and expertise to properly identify the most strategic and sustainable proposal with specific, for example, selection criteria. There is also a lack of competence to be able to measure the impact of project in the long term. There is also little coordination or no coordination with mainstream programs, whether they are nationally founded or EU funded. If we consider only the RDF, 3.7 billion are allocated now for the specific objective 0.46 in regional programs. So there are synergy and coherence in that respect that needs to be developed and improved. And more generally, tourism projects navigate in a, let's be honest, in a competitive context to attract tourists. And mostly this context is driven by private operators and may involve conflicting interests. When you want to preserve cultural and environmental heritage on one hand, and when you want to really promote as much as tourism as possible on the other hand. In many places today, tourism is no longer considered an asset, but is actually a problem because of the negative impact on the environment, on housing, on the local community, on public services. You can think about waste management, transport, etc. I've recently heard on the radio the mayor of Chamonix. It's a well-known place for skiing in the mountain, in the Alps. They do a lot of cooperation as well around the Mont Blanc with Switzerland and with Italy. So they are very well structured in tourism, of course. He was also mentioning the fact that 70% of the housing in his municipality is made by secondary housing. So it's very difficult also as a decision maker, local decision maker, to develop and design public policy with a flow of residents are there for 1 or 2 weeks here. So it's complicated. So managing those interests and needs of tourists and residents and finding proper competence to steer innovation and sustainability in touristic projects, adapting the skills and the labor condition, because we know that it's in a period of difficulty for the sector to attract workers. So, and still doing this and promote the beauty of the heritage of the border areas in a way that really create jobs, long-term jobs and growth. Well, these are challenges for territorial cooperation programs that needs to be addressed in a more strategic way. So I'm very glad that we discussed this today, and we discuss with colleagues and partners that can provide really a larger strategic framework that we use at European level, and concrete, and I'm sure, inspiring examples. Voilà. This is my introduction. I give the floor to you, Anne.
Valeria, thank you so much. I think that's a really great overview and introduction, and sets up some of the issues that we hope to explore during the course of our discussions this morning. We want to now have some participation now, many participants who've joined us. What we would love to have now is for you to respond to the first poll, and we'll bring up the question, which is, what is the biggest challenge to coordinated tourism destination management in cross-border regions? So what is the biggest challenge? And we're offering a number of possibilities that you may choose from. If you could choose one, there are A, lack of harmonization of tourism strategies across borders. B, unequal investment in cross-border tourism infrastructure. C, weak cooperation between local and regional tourism stakeholders. D, inconsistent service standards and visitor expectations. E, limited cross-border transport and connectivity. And you have an option to add something that you don't think is there. So it's lack of harmonization strategy, unequal investment, weak cooperation, inconsistent service standards, limited connectivity. I will come back to the responses to those. If you could take an opportunity, please, everybody, to choose one of those as an illustration of what the biggest challenge is to cross-border tourism management. Meanwhile, let's take this opportunity to hear from Ramunė Genzbigelytė. I'm going to have mangled your Genzbigelytė-Venturi. I'm sorry, Ramunė, forgive me if I've mangled your surname. But it's a delight to have you with us. Policy Officer for Tourism at DG Move, please. So you're right in the midst of these issues. Please tell us more about how to manage, how you've seen some great examples for how to manage tourism.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this invitation. Really, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm looking forward to hearing particular issues on the ground in your regions, the challenges, the solutions that you might have applied. But from my side, so let me introduce myself very briefly. I work in the tourism team in the DG Move. So recently, since February, we have joined forces with mobility and transport colleagues. And as you know, probably we also have a commissioner who covers the file for the very first time, actually, of tourism together with transport. So, and this is a historical moment because we have really a momentum for tourism, a lot of visibility, and we should really strive to build on that momentum. I will talk to you very briefly where we are today. And I think it's a good moment to discuss because we are exactly now developing a new strategy for EU tourism, for sustainable tourism. And in the next slide, please. So during this summer, we have been listening to the stakeholders. We have carried out 2 consultations, by the way, to see really what are the challenges and where we should go together as Europe if we want to achieve more sustainable, more resilient tourism. We all know what the challenges are. We read the press about the climate, over-tourism, you know, all different lags, but there are many structural challenges that we have been addressing already for quite some years. And we're not starting from scratch, by the way. If you have been implementing projects and strategies in your regions, you have probably heard about the Tourism Transition Pathway and Agenda, EU Agenda for Tourism. These are 2 documents that is a roadmap for us together, built together with the stakeholders since the post-pandemic period. So really, this was an answer to the crisis that the pandemic has caused, to achieve more resilient, more sustainable and digitally fit tourism for the future. Now we are down the road for a couple of years. We are actually in the moment on the reporting on our successes and gaps on the achievements. So we will have a report by the end of the year, how we have done, really, what we have achieved. But there is already every year a report that we produce on the achievements on different stakeholders groups, including at the EU level, so what the Commission has contributed in this respect. But there is a wealth of information, and I won't go into the details, on different pledges or on different achievements by stakeholders. So be it businesses, be it regions, national governments, academia as well. So really a lot of interesting stories there to tell. Now, the challenges that we have today, the way we see it, the really big lines, is, well, first of all, we talk about unbalanced tourism. Unbalanced tourism, not necessarily about over-tourism, because at the European level, we of course see that there are also regions that, or destinations, better speaking, not just regions, that would benefit, that are striving for some visibility and attracting tourists. So there is this part, right? I think we should not forget about the fact that tourism has a really big potential to bring benefits to the local communities if developed sustainably with a strategic approach in view. So there's a lot of potential, and we should strive to communicate better that. We talk a lot also here about the balance between the visitors and residents, and here comes all the kinds of problems we are trying to solve together. Housing is one of them. We are talking about climate action, right? I'm sure you have heard about European Green Deal. So there is a legislation in place from which tourism benefits and contributes. But also there are issues that we have to maybe address better in the future, which is climate adaptation. We haven't done enough in these past years. We, of course, have other geopolitical situations, wars that inevitably affect tourism, and we see the shifts in the markets, which we see in particular the regions bordering, for example, with Ukraine, with Russia, that are suffering very much in attracting and positioning themselves as a safe destination. We also have well, a rising global competition. Let's be honest. So you relies mostly on domestic travelers. We like to discover Europe. While others, they try to lure more international tourists. Of course, we have destinations that rely more on international tourism, but we have to find also our place there and remain above all as a quality destination. And of course, there are structural issues such as fragmented ecosystem of businesses. We lack investments and skills that are not matching really the demand, and this hampers our competitiveness. So in the next slide, please, very briefly, if you haven't had a chance, we still have a little door open for this consultation, for your input, for your views. What kind of tourism you would like to see in Europe for the coming years. What we have been consulting on, and we will analyze now in the coming months the results, and we will report sometime in mid-November. So if you see these areas, I think these are very important for cross-border regions. I would highlight in particular the shared branding for Europe. I think this addresses really the issue of fragmented strategies and very competitive approach towards tourism in the destinations. So at the European level, I think we can improve very much to strengthen our brand, Europe that is sustainable, that is attractive, is rich in its diversity, natural, cultural heritage, all things that we know very well. Of course, we will see from the consultation, we will be informed, and the report of the transition pathway, how that could be presented. You know, what is important for the Europeans to position ourselves as an attractive destination. Connectivity. Transport, so multimodal transportation, for example. I think these are all the areas that would be interesting for you to contribute with your vision. You know, what could be the path. Many other things, but basically, I think this summarizes the idea of the pillars that we want to see in the future tourism strategy, and I think that will give a lot of answers. It will not solve everything. A strategy never solves everything. It's just, let's say, a guidance, a common vision for all destinations and businesses, and also local communities. Let's not forget that. The kind of tourism we want to see, and importantly, how we want to achieve it. So in the next slide, please. Normally, the consultation is over. The targeted consultation was with the stakeholders, so a very detailed a questionnaire on different subjects we are looking into. We are still receiving some input. Every voice counts. So if you haven't had a chance, until 25th of September, we'll be still receiving the input from the stakeholders. There was also a public consultation, so citizens also commented. We are all tourists. What kind of tourism we should build together, and a call for evidence. So we will build on these insights, and we will see what lines are appearing from this consultation, together with, I want to emphasize, what we have achieved so far, which is not so little. And we will be proposing this new strategy on the second quarter next year. So on the next slide, please. We have already, by the way, over 1,000 replies, so quite a lot of interest. This is very, very briefly, I won't go into details, but an example how we support destinations in their sustainability path. So we have a lot of projects, a lot of initiatives. I would like to highlight a dialogue forum for destination that is facilitated by our stakeholder group, what is called Together for Tourism. There are a lot of webinars, thematic discussions. So each month we have a theme, a topic that is interesting for all destinations and businesses, of course. And anybody who's interested in tourism is open for everyone. I will share a few QR codes, and I will let you know where you can connect. For example, on the next week, on the 24th, we will have a discussion, a webinar online open to everybody, how to manage sustainable destinations and how to go from sustainability to regenerative tourism. This is something we hear more and more, so going a step further. And we have a lot of projects. We have branding for Europe already. We work European Tourism Commission quite a lot to promote those destinations that are more hidden, that are struggling more. So this way achieving, let's say, more sustainable tourism. We don't have so much time to go into all the things that we do. So maybe a next slide. Just for your information, this is one of the projects I would like to invite you to have a look, because we have gathered quite a lot of destinations around this project, and I'm sure you will find a lot of inspiring examples there. We have grouped experiences according to different challenges, be it economic, social, environmental, or governance. I think governance is in particular important for the cross-border regions. You will have also interesting solutions above all, so not just challenges, but the different solutions that destinations have applied. And there are recordings of the webinars if you haven't had a chance to attend and if you didn't know about that. The next slide, please. One more tool to share with you. This is the so-called EU Tourism Dashboard, where we have introduced, let's say, less traditional indicators, in particular on sustainability. I would like to have your attention there. I think it's useful because there you can compare really the progress across the years of different destinations, quite at a low granular level, so at regional level as well, your progress as a region or as a country in green transition, in resilience, in digital acquisition. So I would invite you to have a look at this one, and it's a dynamic product. We're constantly improving, and it has been most useful. And the next slide, please. So one more tool, or let's say one-stop shop for anybody that is interested in tourism, is looking for inspiration for events, material, guidance, etc. This is our platform for tourism, which you can join. Anybody can join. If you sign up, you can make it, let's say, tailored to your needs, so the topics you're interested in. And you can also publish your information. You can publicize your events, your research, etc. So I think this is a very good source of information. You will find all our webinars and things that are upcoming there. And to close, I would just like to invite you to save the date and come to Brussels. On the 26th of January, we will have a biannual European Tourism Day. This is a big event where we invite all stakeholders. We will be, of course, discussing the new strategy, how far we have come with the tourism transition pathway and tourism agenda, what are the challenges, and we'll be sharing some examples from the destinations, from the businesses, the networks, the trends that are important for the future. So really, I would invite you to save the date in your calendars. Well, that would be all from me for now. So really looking forward to the discussion and to the examples you would like to share. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Ramunė. Thank you very much indeed. There's a very rich source of strategic ideas and practical supports there. So thank you very much indeed, and a great set of great opportunities for those who are working on tourism management. We'll come back to you during the discussions, I'm sure. But so hold on there while I just report back on the first poll, looking at the challenges that we face. And hopefully all of our participants can see this. Yes, there we are. So lack of harmonization of tourism strategies is the principal identified challenge. Also significant sentiment that weak cooperation or unequal investment also plays a part. Less reference to transport and connectivity and cooperation, less focus on unequal investment or indeed inconsistent service standards. So creating tourism strategies, securing greater connectivity and cooperation between tourism stakeholders are essential challenges to be met. Let's turn, if I may now, to a video testimonial. We're going to hear from the PORTOLANES project. I've seen the video and I think it will encourage us all to visit there. So let's hear about the PORTOLANES project, but most particularly what they are doing, working across their particular
Γεια σας, ονομάζομαι Ιωσήφ και εργάζομαι στο Υπουργείο Τουρισμού ως υπάλληλος στο τμήμα παρακολούθησης προγραμμάτων Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής. Το Υπουργείο συμμετείχε κατά την προηγούμενη προγραμματική περίοδο στο έργο με τίτλο Sustainable Development of Nautical Tourism and Enhancement of Small Ports of the Ionian Sea και ακρονίμιο PORTOLANES. Το έργο υλοποιήθηκε στο πλαίσιο του προγράμματος Interreg Ελλάδα-Ιταλία 2014-2020, το οποίο συγχρηματοδοτείται από την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Κύριος εταίρος του έργου ήταν η Περιφερειακή Ένωση Δήμων Πούλιας Ιταλίας και λοιποί εταίροι από ιταλικής πλευράς το Εμπορικό Επιμελητήριο Πούλιας και από ελληνικής πλευράς η Περιφερειακή Ένωση Δήμων Υπήρου και η Ευξηνή Πόλη, ένα δίκτυο ευρωπαϊκών πόλεων για τη βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη. Κύριος στόχος του έργου ήταν η ανάπτυξη του ναυτικού τουρισμού ως ειδικής μορφής τουρισμού, με στόχο τη διασύνδεση των παράκτιων περιοχών με φυσικούς και πολιτιστικούς πόρους της ενδοχώρας, η δημιουργία θεματικών διαδρομών, η ανάπτυξη ταυτότητας προορισμού και η διατήρηση των φυσικών και πολιτιστικών πόρων ως προϋποθέσεων για μια βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη. Το έργο ήταν πολύ σημαντικό για το Υπουργείο Τουρισμού, καθώς συμβαδίζει με τους στόχους που έχει θέσει για τη διαφοροποίηση του τουριστικού προϊόντος και την προώθηση ενός βιώσιμου μοντέλου τουριστικής ανάπτυξης, ενώ παράλληλα ενισχύει τη διασυνοριακή συνεργασία μεταξύ των επιλέξιμων περιοχών Ελλάδας-Ιταλίας, οι οποίες αντιμετωπίζουν κοινές προκλήσεις και έχουν σαν στόχο την ισόρροπη τουριστική ανάπτυξη με όρους αειφορίας. Ο ναυτικός τουρισμός, αν και πιο δημοφιλής κατά τους καλοκαιρινούς μήνες, αν συνδυαστεί σωστά με άλλες ήπιες τουριστικές δραστηριότητες, μπορεί να συμβάλλει στην επιμήκυνση της τουριστικής περίοδου με θετικό αντίκτυπο στις τοπικές οικονομίες. Στο πλαίσιο αυτό, μεταξύ άλλων δραστηριοτήτων, εκπονήθηκαν μελέτες για την υφιστάμενη κατάσταση του ναυτικού τουρισμού στα μικρά λιμάνια τόσο της ελληνικής όσο και της ιταλικής πλευράς, οι οποίες ανέδειξαν την αναπτυξιακή δυναμική του διασυνοριακού ναυτικού τουρισμού στην περιοχή του έργου. Επιπλέον, αναπτύχθηκαν θεματικές διαδρομές στην περιοχή υλοποίησης του έργου σε Ελλάδα και Ιταλία, οι οποίες ενισχύουν την εμπειρία των ταξιδιωτών και επισκεπτών, προσφέροντας έναν οργανωμένο και βιωματικό τρόπο εξερεύνησης της περιοχής. Από ελληνικής πλευράς επιλέχθηκαν 6 μικρά λιμάνια στην περιοχή της Δυτικής Ελλάδας, τα οποία πληρούσαν συγκεκριμένα κριτήρια και αναπτύχθηκαν αντίστοιχες θεματικές διαδρομές που εκτείνονται από τα λιμάνια αυτά προς την ενδοχώρο, ενώνοντας σημεία πολιτιστικού, ιστορικού, γαστρονομικού και φυσικού ενδιαφέροντος. Τέλος, σε συνεργασία με τους Ιταλούς εταίρους, αναπτύχθηκε η ταυτότητα του τουριστικού προϊόντος, του PORTOLANES Area Brand, το οποίο στοχεύει να λειτουργήσει ως ένα μοναδικό διασυνοριακό brand που προωθεί έναν από κοινού αναγνωρισμένο προορισμό θαλάσσιου τουρισμού, ενισχύοντας την ελκυστικότητα της ευρύτερης περιοχής Αδριατικής Ιωνίου. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Well, and a very big thank you to Leila as well. Puglia and Epirus working together, some fascinating development of thematic routes and opportunities for tourism. So let's now ask all of our participants, turning to the positives, what in the second poll, let's see what the second poll is about. What is the best way to strengthen joint marketing and branding of cross-border tourism destinations? So the opportunities, again, please choose one. A, launching joint cross-border marketing campaign. B, supporting cross-border business networks. C, developing shared digital tools and visitor information platforms. D, promoting and organizing joint events and festivals. Okay, cross-border marketing, cross-border business networks, shared digital tools and platforms, joint events and festivals. Those are the options. While our participants are hopefully responding to that poll, let's take this opportunity to listen to Alise Lūse, who is joining us to talk about the Kurzeme planning region. Alise, could you please tell us something about your region and how you are working together on destination management?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew, and really nice to be on this debate and the opportunity to talk about the Access Routes project. The Access Route project is a cross-border project. It is implemented with the support of the Estonia-Latvia program under the Interreg framework. Latvia and Estonia, together with Lithuania, are often perceived by foreign tourists as a single destination. Being situated on the coast of the Baltic Sea, we are among the smallest countries in Europe, but together we share a remarkable 4,500 kilometer total seashore line, which is appreciated by tourists because of our nice and diverse beaches, which are really different ones, like sandy, pebbly, with steep cliffs, with grass meadows, historic nice fishing villages, small towns, cultural heritage, of course, and they are quiet. And as Ramunė mentioned, there's this over tourism, maybe not in our case. We really appreciate quality over quantity, and our beaches and nature is not crowded. So definitely the most popular cross-border route in the Baltics is for the moment the Baltic coastal hiking or cycling or traveling by car or a camper. And on the map, you can see the one with a rainbow. There's a line stretching along the coast, and usually for tourists, a very common route to take is starting, for example, from Klaipėda in Lithuania, then going all over Latvia and finishing the route in Tallinn up in the north. So the project Access Routes aims to facilitate accessible cross-border tourism. And why? Because for many groups, cross-border traveling is still limited due to a number of reasons. Many sites are physically not accessible to, for example, wheelchair users, or there's no tactile interpretation means for the blind. And even such basic services as intercity buses or accommodation is a problem, actually. So, for example, in case of accommodation, although many hotels and guest houses often offer an accessible room, this is not true. If you come in a bigger group, you're in trouble. Why else accessibility is important to us in view of the future and strategic approach? We all, as the world's population, are aging, are getting older. And aging is usually associated also with some health issues. You start seeing not that well, you get tired faster, and you need to sit down and have a rest. And in the next slide, you can see we have created a map with sites and services that are accessible to different groups. And the project as accessibility as such is not just about disabilities. This is still, I think, a myth and wrong perception that a ramp is just needed for wheelchairs. And why should I install it if there's just 1 or 2 visitors in wheelchairs per year? Accessibility is important for everyone, to also parents with small children in strollers, to seniors, to people with temporary injuries, like with the broken leg, for example. And accessibility being expensive is also a myth, and we're trying to dissolve it as much as possible. You just have to follow some simple recommendations, like a bit wider door, a more even surface, or a bit more space here and there, things that actually are appreciated by all of us. So irrespective of the disability, you just feel more comfortable in accessible environment. But being in one of disability groups or situations where you need more access, or where access matters, one really important part is reliable accessibility information. Before to decide whether you should go to the site, you need to know if the site, the service, or the product can be useful to you. Does it meet your accessibility needs? And the accessibility website Mapero, which you see on the screen, is where we started from in this project. Along with accessibility guidelines on how to adapt your infrastructure, products and services to be more accessible, we have carried out hundreds of on-site inspections and published detailed data on the access of the site or service or the product, grouped by activity types, accessibility types, and grouped under such categories as nature trails, beaches, museums, cafes, accommodation services, and routes. And in the next slide, the routes is actually what the project focuses on specifically aiming to create diverse 1 to 3 day routes, including cross-border ones, which any traveler could be able to select based first on their accessibility needs, of course, and second on their interests. As you can see, we're developing thematic routes. It can be the science, it can be nature or food that you're interested in, or want to visit some family-friendly beaches with your kids. And in parallel, we are also experimenting a lot in the project and trying to come up with some innovative interpretation solutions, such as tactile materials and objects for travelers with visual impairment, which they could understand through touching, for example, a map, a hill fort, or a cave mock-up. Second, the sound interpretation animations that we are dealing with for the deaf, like trying to visualize, for example, a bird's song or a train's wheel noise and whistle. And third, nature and museum interpretation solutions, like, for example, a traveling museum with a box full of different items that help to educate about and understand the history and heritage. And altogether, we're investing in over 20 sites in Latvia and Estonia with tactile innovations, and 15 with other interpretation solutions. The project is up and running still. It finishes next year, and we'll also issue a travel guide on our routes. So we look forward to hosting everyone on Estonia-Latvia cross-border routes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That looks terrific, and thank you very much for all of that most interesting description of what you're doing. We'll come back to you during the questions, so wait, and questions are coming right now. But let's hear first what the participants all felt were the biggest opportunities, the best ways to strengthen joint marketing and branding of cross-border tourism. So slightly more diverse range of choices here. So cross-border business networks attracts significant support, cross-border marketing campaigns, but so cross-border business networks, and then shared digital tools and visitor information, and then joint events and festivals all secure some support. So these are clearly all part of the kind of strategies that we're looking towards. Let's hear from our fourth speaker. We're very much looking forward to hearing from you, Giovanni. Let's turn to Giovanni Vassena, who is project manager at EGTC Alpine Pearls. So we get where you're coming from, Giovanni, but can you tell us about the EGTC Alpine Pearls and what you're doing to promote tourism?
Yes, thank you very much. The EGTC Alpine Pearls is a network of alpine municipalities, about 20 alpine municipalities, cooperating together to promote sustainable tourism with a special focus on sustainable mobility. The network does exist since 2006. It was an association according to the Austrian law, and it was then changed. The structure was changed then in the year 2022, and since then we are an EGTC. I mean, I would say I found very interesting also the results, for example, of the first poll, because we experienced also in the Alpine region that one of the biggest barriers in the development of sustainable tourism is for sure the fragmentation of the strategies across the borders, and not just of the strategies, but let's say also of the governance generally. So we have members coming from different countries, and we see not just each country, but especially sometimes also each region or each destination has its own tourist priorities, its own standards, and also there are different funding frameworks. And of course, it makes quite difficult then to deliver also, let's say, a seamless visitor experience at the end. So another structure which for sure we experienced as our focus is mobility is the infrastructure challenge. Because very often, let's say, both mobility services and digital services remain unevenly developed, let's say, and they are not really connected across the borders. Furthermore, for sure, in our case, small municipalities very often struggle also with very limited resources, and for sure it makes it very hard to engage in, let's say, structured cross-border destination management. I mean, at the same time, we have to consider, I guess it's also one of the results of this analysis done about tourists, that the tourists don't think in terms of borders, which is of course positive. I mean, when they are on holiday, they just want to explore the surrounding area, and they don't. It's not interesting for them if they are going across municipal or even regional or national boundaries. So they just want to experience the region in its all. And this is for according to our experience, is the reason why it is really a big need of a truly transnational approach to tourism. And for sure, mobility is one of the essential aspects to reach that. So to overcome these challenges, for sure, we need a stronger harmonization of the strategies. I would say we also need a better use sometimes of the European cooperation tools, such as Interreg and so on. So a better connection maybe between the different instruments. And for sure, we need let's say, a multi-level approach that involves local destinations, but in the same time as the regions and countries in a coordinated way. We are an EGTC. I mean, I think most of us know why the instrument EGTC was created by the European Union. And I mean, we are convinced that EGTCs like our EGTCs, Alpine Pearls, can somehow facilitate this process, because we can try to help providing a legal, let's say, or operational at least framework for cross-border cooperation. In our case, especially, I mean, we can see the map of our members. So we bring together very diverse destinations. So from small villages like Chamois in Lūse Valley with less than 100 inhabitants, to large destinations with 1 million of overnight stays. Example of Bled in Slovenia, for example. And we see the feedbacks of our members. So for them, the the most important value is very often the opportunity to learn from each other. And this is true, although the contents are sometimes very different. So this let's call it peer-to-peer learning. It's very crucial, but for sure it needs to be combined also with concrete projects, which means shared infrastructures and at the end, so when you have the product, then for sure you need also coordinated communication in order to really make a difference in the context. So this is our experience. Let's say, if you want to summarize again, 3 factors I would say are essential. The first one is a trust and long-term cooperation between the local actors. So this is the most important thing also to start. Because this can be built through a stable governance structures where the municipalities, the tourism organization, the transport providers, and NGOs can work together and put together also individual projects and different projects. The second thing for networks like ours and for EGTCs in general, I think, is that the members should be able to see a real added value of working together and also to profit from it. So cooperation, for example, must enable them to reach new markets, to develop innovative projects, and also to solve concrete challenges that they have. And the third point, for sure, the communication is also key, because we need to go outside, so externally with a coherent branding. I find very important, very interesting this idea to let's say to propose also Europe as a sustainable destination for sustainable tourism or regenerative tourism, the step ahead. So I think it is very important. It should be declined then on all levels, so for sure from the European one until the local level. So we work with mobility, and this is our focus, let's say. But I think it can be also the best example for it, because tourists in general, they want very easy, smooth connections between the places, and they don't want fragmented systems, because they see them as an obstacle to overcome borders and so on. And that's the reason why we try with our EGTC to work on mobility at this multiple level, let's say. And trying to link also the experiences of small municipalities with the experience of larger destinations, and connecting regions also between the different countries. So we are really convinced that this multi-level approach is the most important factor in order to create also a, let's say, sustainable experience for the visitors themselves.
Giovanni, thank you very much indeed, and thanks for those very practical thoughts about how to achieve your objectives. Let's open it up with some questions now. I wonder if I could first go back to Alise, prompted by some of the things you were saying. The map that you referred to of the many opportunities for people to visit in your region. How, and I think one of the things that people said was one of the necessities as part of the digital transition was the increased use of digital tools. How readily or otherwise are you able to put something like your really useful map onto all the digital tools that people and tourists now use for their planning their tourism? So, you know, the platforms ask questions and AI delivers them all sorts of interesting answers. But to what extent does it give them the answer that you have created, which is, as it were, the moderated and authoritative and researched answer, the really useful, practical one?
Yeah, thank you. We actually work quite a lot with this Maperon's website, and it is over years being developed and modernized, and we aim to make it as more simple and easy and really a good source of information for people with disabilities. It is also accessible with a screen reader and assistive technologies. But we also do all the sites that we inspect and publish, they are also published on, for example, traveling apps like All Trails, Outdoor Active. We try to include all the accessibility information there as well. And in our parallel projects that we run, for example, on accessible water tourism, we also now try to put as many information related to accessibility as possible, with the source of the information being this Maperans map that I showed, because I think for Baltics at least this is the most comprehensive source of information that we have gathered together in one source.
That's really interesting. Ramunė, I wonder if I could just come to you, because our participants particularly continue to highlight the importance of connectivity. I wondered, and transport connections. Obviously, we've discussed in the Borders breakfast the particular issues of trying to manage transport networks like rail, connecting rail services across borders. But are there many interesting tourism initiatives that, for example, use transport, because tourists often travel at different times and in different ways than the resident population? Are there some really good examples of how those resources can be redeployed for tourism?
No, this is a very good question. I think at European level, you know very well probably that we do encourage the rail infrastructure. There are the night trains that have been implemented already across connecting different cities. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is the multimodal connectivity. We will be proposing some improvements there. Some legislative proposal will come soon. I would highlight from the good experience that we see, there's a lot of development of the bike infrastructure, so cycling tourism. And that connects regions across the borders. Obviously, you might know Eurovelo network that has a lot of paths across Europe, and I think this is very very interesting for the cross-border reality. Well, there are regions that depend exclusively, islands, for example, on flights, on air connectivity, and we should not forget that. There's a lot of criticism, of course, and about the carbon neutrality impacts, right? I mean, the flying is not necessarily the most sustainable way, but we should not, I mean, at the EU level, you should think that we cannot exclude any types of regions. So we talk about islands, we talk about rural areas. There, you know, there is a problem of rail or other types of connectivity. So again, the diversity of regions is an issue there, and we should really be comprehensive when we propose better connectivity for the destination. So at European level, there are a lot of initiatives on the sustainable transport strategy, and more will be coming. But I think at the local level, you would find, and again, in this platform, you will see a lot of examples, in particular on the cycling tourism. This is what we have seen mostly.
Thank you very much. Valeria, I wonder if I could just ask you, because the Alise was talking about thematic routes, and indeed the PORTOLANES project were highlighting thematic routes. I wonder, is there a way of, does this link to some of the research which may be being done on a European basis of understanding, particularly for non-EU tourists coming into the European Union, understanding the market segmentation, because this is crucially about segmenting the tourism, the numbers of tourists who are coming, and segmenting them and understanding what it is they're looking for. Is there common market research that is accessible to the destinations across Europe?
Well, to be honest, I'm not aware of this kind of common market. Maybe my colleague Ramunė, because they have a bigger vision at level of Interreg, for sure. We are not having this kind of more sectoral approach in that respect, and thinking about the potential outside type of tourist. So, but it's precisely one of the issues. You know, I was mentioning in the beginning, we feel that there is a lot, a wealth of different type of initiative, action, including in Ruth. I think Ruth, we have been financing many over the years, since more than 30 years of this, and some are more or less sustainable, some seems to disappear over time because there is a problem with communication, with new tools, with platforms, and it's difficult to keep the sustainability of this once the project are ended, once the financing are ended. And to me, all of this, what I'm hearing here is really that there is this need to put solid pillar to project into a strategic context and governance. And it's somehow we know, but it's even more clear to me that it's really important to, when we finance under Interreg some project in tourism, there must be some link with the strategic frameworks. There must be some governance dimension there to make it really long-term, to make it stable, and to make it, there is this multi-level and multi-sectoral dimension to cover. It's not easy. It's not easy also for our program. We have here managing authority and so on. So it's difficult to master all these aspects and all these elements. So I'm happy that I think I've heard a lot of tools, a lot of discussion also on this. So there is a lot of experience with this. So it's clearly something where we need to improve and to work hard on this capacity to put in a more systemic way, in a more systemic approach our project. Sorry,
Absolutely.
I speak too much.
That's really helpful insight. Thank you. Ramunė, you wanted to come in.
Yes, I wanted to complement. Indeed, as Valeria says, this is, well, tourism is so multidimensional, but I think the strength there, or the potential to be explored more, is the destination managing organization. Because until now, we talk about marketing destinations, or, that was historically the role of destinations. We really want to give more tools and enabling DMOs, as we call, so destination managing organizations, and link them at all levels. So at the destination level, DMO should be part around the table with different authorities. So be it, authorities that decide about mobility, about transport, housing, if you like, or protecting of nature. So all these elements should connect, and DMO is really the central pillar, the way we see it, and we want to reinforce their role and enable them. So
I think, Giovanni, sorry, we just have a couple of minutes, but I did want to ask you, because there was a very, I thought, a very interesting point that I think it was Ramunė made earlier about regenerative tourism. And obviously you are in an area where not only your own resident population, but the tourists will be very interested in the nature, in the biodiversity. So are you able to create tourism offering which can demonstrate that it contributes to the biodiversity gain and to nature recovery, as that it isn't detrimental to nature?
Yes, I would say we have many of our members which are located also in, let's say, protected areas. So this philosophy behind the development of the project is also let's say very alive, not just as marketing gag for the tourists, but it is also really truly lived by the inhabitants. Maybe one aspect which is interesting for many locations at the moment, it is also this let's say this coming back of people, not just tourists, but coming back of people who come the first time as tourists and then maybe decide also to live in these rural areas or mountain areas. I think this is a very important point also to fight against depopulation and these factors. And for sure, the potential here is really very big, because with the digital transformation and so on, if we are able to really to develop a let's say high quality life place, maybe we can also in the meantime face also other challenges that these regions have. So I think it's very interesting.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Valeria, you gave us something of an insight in your last contribution, but I wondered, before we have to close, we have a minute, just a couple of minutes available. I wonder if there's any additional points you would like to draw out of very interesting presentations.
Well, I have many, but I see Alise would like maybe to
Alise,
say something.
I beg your pardon.
I think it's interesting to hear her.
Very briefly. Thank you. Because of the regenerative tourism, actually, I also caught this, and I think it's important to say that probably it's really something that we all need to now focus on and keep in mind. We, as an Access Routes project, we are selected as a platform, part of a platform project, Region T. It's also financed by the Interreg Baltic Sea Region program. It started really now, just now, and it is quite a huge project between the countries of the Baltic Sea region, where we come together, many projects, with our own input, and we will try to do a lot of research studies and propose specific actions, all kind of summarized and published together in this one platform. Would it be an AI, or a website-based platform? But it will be a great source of information to stakeholders who want to associate themselves with this regenerative tourism, want to be in this field, and also aim to approach regional authorities to actually include regenerative tourism aspects in their strategies. So that's just one additional point.
Thank you very much. That's all terrific, and thank you to all of the speakers and presenters. I think some of those important points have come out. Do add to that if you wish, Valeria, but I thought the need for a shared strategy, the benefit of sharing strategies and of not just branding for tourist destinations, but perhaps in a sense sharing a European branding for tourism, because obviously this is a really big international industry, but the necessity of linking it to the digital and green transition and of creating more sustainable solutions for tourism is clearly part of the discussion and came through very well. But the mechanisms, for example, how Giovanni was explaining the ways through trust and cooperation and communication it is possible to create really effective shared strategies, joint destination management, and effective tourism experiences, I thought came through very strongly from what all our presenters were telling us this morning. So if I may, thank you all very much indeed. Can I just say before we close, a big thank you not only to our presenters, but to all of our participants out there across the cross-border regions working on tourism and related issues. Thank you for your participation this morning. Can I remind you all, please, of two things? Firstly, that the cross-border ambassadors have been selected, and they are now the third iteration of cross-border ambassadors, will be commencing their mandate at the beginning of October. So we're looking forward. We always enjoy hearing from the ambassadors in the cross-border breakfasts. And finally, in October, there will be the 25th Borders Breakfast Debate, which will be looking at the issues arising from the changes to the Schengen arrangements. So please look out for that, as well as, of course, maintain the discussion on Futurium, see all the excellent presentations, and maintain the network debate. Thank you once again to all of our presenters this morning, and do have a very good day. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure being with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.